welcome to another episode of Codo Cinema, the podcast show where I talk about movies. I'm your host, Mark Codo, aka Codoman. For this episode, I'm going to talk about a sports movie. Now, I haven't talked about I haven't done a sports movie in a long time. I have talked about it before in my earlier episodes of Codo Cinema, not since not since 2020 to be honest. So it's been a long time. Basically been 4 years since I talked about a sports movie. So might as well talk about one now. I mean, yeah. Now, with this sports movie that I'm going to talk about, and in case you're wondering what sports movie it is, this is the latest one. Is basically most recent. It came out not too long ago. This movie that I'm going to talk about will be the Challengers movie, starring Zendaya, Josh O'Connor, and Mike Faist, directed by Luca Guadagnino with a screenplay by Justin Kuritsky. So the movie follows a professional tennis champion being played by Mike Faist, who plots a comeback with the help of his wife, being played by Zendaya, a former tennis prodigy who retired after an injury as he goes up against another player being played by Josh O'Connor, who also happens to be his former best friend and wife's former lover. That's basically the plot summary of this movie. The film stars Zendaya as Tashi Duncan. You have Josh O'Connor as Patrick Zwig and Mike Faist as Art Donaldson. Those are the three main cast members. And this movie is basically it's basically a tennis movie, but it's also a love triangle romance as well. It's a romantic sports drama movie. So there you go. As I mentioned, the film is directed by Luca Guadagnino with a screenplay written by Justin Kuritsky. Not only does Luca Guadagnino produce the movie, but Amy Pascal also produces the movie because Amy Pascal, for those of you who don't know who Amy Pascal is, she is an American film producer and a business executive. She is a film producer for most of the Columbia Pictures movies. And of course, Zendaya is also a producer on this movie as well. The movie was distributed by Metro Goldwyn Mayer, but it was also distributed by Amazon Metro Goldwyn Mayer Studios in the U.S., while Warner Brothers Pictures distributes the film internationally. The film was released on March 26th of 2024 in Sydney, Australia, while the United States had an April 26, 2024 release. So basically not too long ago. So this movie came out not too long ago. And it had a runtime of 131 minutes, and the film's budget was $55 million. Now, cast member wise, Zendaya is the main star of this movie. Zendaya has appeared in a multitude of projects. She appeared on Disney Channel's Shake It Up, Casey Undercover. She appeared in all three Tom Holland Spider-Man movies as MJ. She also appeared alongside Zac Efron and Hugh Jackman for The Greatest Showman. She also appeared alongside Timothy Chalamet for the first two Dune movies, to which Dune Part 2 was also released the same year as Challengers. So she's definitely got a good career ahead of her. She's also a singer as well. So there's something right there. She also appeared in the HBO TV series called Euphoria, to which she also served as a executive producer as well. And now Josh O'Connor is in this movie too. Josh O'Connor was in the TV show Doctor Who, and he also appeared in the Netflix TV show The Crown. So that's basically Josh O'Connor's background. And as for Mike Faist, the only movie that I can think of that Mike Faist was in, he was in the 2021 remake of the West Side Story movie, which was directed by Steven Spielberg. And Mike Faist plays Art Donaldson in the Challengers movie, while Josh O'Connor plays Patrick Zwig, and Zendaya plays Tashi Duncan. So those are your three cast members. Now, the film as a whole. I went to see this movie not too long ago with my twin brother and my parents. We all saw it, and we all had different opinions on this movie. Like, I'll be honest, my parents didn't like the movie as much. I mean, I was kind of on the fence too after watching this movie, so I have similar opinions. But it does have its moments. There were moments in this movie that I liked, but the majority of this movie, you're just like, what? Well, I guess you could say this is a challenging film to talk about, hence the title of the movie, Challengers. Oh man. But even that, it kind of does leave you wondering, like, what is the point of this? What is the point in this movie? Because I remember seeing the trailer. It did set up a romantic story between the two male tennis players and Tashi Duncan. I feel like the trailer focuses so much on Tashi Duncan more than the two male tennis players. And I'm just wondering what's up with that. But of course, I mean, obviously, we gotta see the movie to put the pieces together. I mean, obviously that's basically one of the main points when it comes to watching a movie. But other than that, let's talk about this movie. The way how this film is structured, like it goes back and forth between the past and the present. In 2006, high schoolers and childhood best friends Patrick Zwig and Art Donaldson, being played by Josh O'Connor and Mike Faist, they both win the boys' junior doubles title at the U.S. Open. Afterwards, they meet Tashi Duncan, being played by Zendaya, a highly lauded young tennis prospect to whom Patrick and Art are both attracted to. The three met in a hotel room. In the ensuing encounter, the two boys kiss both Tashi and each other, but Tashi ends the tryst before it escalates to sex, with Patrick and Art playing each other in the junior singles final the next day. Tashi says she will give her phone number to whichever wins. Patrick wins the match and later signals to Art that he had sex with Tashi by placing the ball in the neck of his racket prior to serving a tick of Art's. Tick is, in sporting terminology, to telegraph, is to unintentionally alert an opponent to one's immediate situation, and tick is a sporting terminology for that. Now, Tashi and Art go on to play college tennis at Stanford University, while Patrick turns professional and begins a long distance relationship with Tashi while on tour. Art privately suggests to Tashi that Patrick doesn't actually love her. When he visits Stanford, Patrick sees that Art is jealous and playfully reassures him he cares for her. But Patrick and Tashi fight when she gives an unsolicited tennis advice during sex, and he says he views her as a peer, not his coach. In the match immediately after, which Patrick skips due to the fight, Tashi suffers a severe knee injury, and Patrick returns to comfort Tashi, but she furiously demands Patrick to leave, with Art taking her side, to which Art aids Tashi in her recovery, but she is unsuccessful in resuming her tennis career. So a few years later, in 2009, Tashi reconnects with Art and becomes his coach, with the two beginning a romantic relationship. He reveals that he and Patrick have not spoken since Tashi's injury, and in 2011, Tashi and Art are now engaged, and Art's career is on the rise, while Tashi and Patrick run into each other at the Atlanta Open and have a one-night stand, which Art secretly notices. In 2019, flash forward to 2019, now married, Tashi and Art are a wealthy power couple with a young daughter, Lily. Under Tashi's coaching, Art has become a top professional tennis player. He is one U.S. Open title away from a career Grand Slam. A career Grand Slam in tennis is the achievement of winning all four major championships in one discipline in a calendar year. However, Art has been struggling after recovering from an injury. Tashi enters Art as a wild card in a challenger event in New Rochelle, New York, in the hope he could boost his confidence and return to form by beating lower opponents. Patrick is now an unknown player living out of his car, scraping by on winnings from the lower circuits, and happens to also enter the New Rochelle event. Starting at opposite ends of the seating, Art and Patrick advance through the brackets until they find themselves facing each other in the final. The day before the match, Patrick attempts to reconnect with Art, but Art rejects Patrick, saying that his career is over and Art will be remembered in tennis history. Sensing that Tashi is unhappy with Art and that Art is tired of playing, Patrick secretly asks Tashi to coach him to one last winning season, but she rejects him. The night before the final, Art informs Tashi he plans to retire at the end of the season, whether he wins the Open or not. Despite knowing that Tashi is vigorously living her tennis career through him, she responds with silence, causing Art to beg for reassurance that she will still love him. She half-heartedly claims she accepts him quitting, but Art refuses to believe this. To motivate him, Tashi tells Art that if he loses to Patrick, she will leave him. Afterward, Tashi secretly meets with Patrick to ask him to throw the match to Art. Patrick reluctantly agrees, and the two have sex inside Patrick's car. The day of the final, Tashi watches from the crowd as Art and Patrick are matched. Patrick wins the first set, and Art wins the second set. As Art takes the lead late in the final game, Patrick begins to throw the match through double faults. However, he stops short of losing and instead signals that he has slept with Tashi using Art's serve tick. Stunned, Art follows Patrick to score until they are again tied. During the tiebreak, Art and Patrick furiously trade blows. The rally intensifies until both jump for a volley at the net. As Art begins to slam the ball, he collides with Patrick over the net, and the two tightly embrace. Tashi cheers from the stands. And that is basically it. That's basically the breakdown of this movie. You're all probably wondering what is going on. So anyway, this film, it really goes back and forth between the past and present. But the way how I explained it in timeline order because the film itself is basically explained through a different structure. Like the film opens up in 2019, and then we cut back, and then we cut to another scene in 2006. Then we cut back to 2019. Then we cut back to 2006. Then we cut to 2011. Then we cut to 2019. Then we cut to 2019 to 2011. I mean, that's how this film is being structured, by the way, just to let you all know what was going on. And to be honest, though, I was a little split on this movie after seeing this movie, to be honest. Like, my parents didn't like the movie as much. I was kind of on the fence on it, too, because of how this movie was executed. I love the way how they structured it, and it was good. I love the cast members, too. But the film itself, I feel like they used the tennis aspect as a backdrop for this movie. I think that was the whole point of this movie, where they used tennis, like the filmmakers used tennis as more of a backdrop, because the main focus was obviously on the love triangle between Tashi Duncan, Patrick Zwig, Art Donaldson. But even then, the way how those characters were written, they are written to be so unlikable. Like, for those who have seen the movie or who've seen the characters, all three characters seem to be unlikable in this movie. Like, think about this for a moment. Like, you get all three tennis players met up at a tennis party and this was after when Tashi Duncan won her match, and this was in 2006. And I will admit, Zendaya, she was pretty good in the tennis matches. She was pretty good in the tennis matches, and I'm pretty sure she was. I mean, I'm pretty sure there was also a stunt double as well. But if not, then I'm very impressed with how Zendaya was able to pull off the tennis matches. I was actually impressed with it. But that's just me. Maybe there was a stunt double, but all I just see is Zendaya playing tennis, and I believe that is impressive. But off the court, all the characters are so unlikable. Like, on the court, you're basically cheering them on, but off the court, that's a whole different story. What's life like after the competition? So you never really know. But in this movie, you see Art, Patrick, and Tashi meeting each other, and who knows? They started to have a relationship. Like, literally, we get the scene where Tashi Duncan meets up with Art and Patrick at their apartment, and I got a chuckle out of this because the reason why, because like Art and Patrick were smoking inside the apartment, and they covered the smoke alarm sensor with a plastic bag while they're smoking inside the room. And I actually got a chuckle out of that. I thought that was very I thought that was funny and clever at the same time. I mean, it's like Art and Patrick were like, "Hey, how are we gonna smoke in this room? What are we gonna do? We got the smoke alarm. We got the smoke alarm here. Well, we'll cover it up and the alarm will go off. Sounds like a good idea." Like literally, you probably like, what the hell, man? That is so. That was probably a clever. That was like, wow, that was a clever move. That was a clever move. Like when you really think about it, like you're covering the smoke alarm system with a plastic bag just so you can smoke in the room. Like, oh my, like, oh my goodness, like what the hell, man? But anyway, that being said, Tashi Duncan comes in, meets up with the guys, and they have all the three of them have a conversation until this whole situation where the rest of this conversation escalates into Patrick, Art, and Tashi kissing each other, and of course, it leads up into another situation where both Patrick and Art are kissing. And wow, that's where things escalated quickly. The tennis balls have dropped, man. And you even get a shot of where the camera is zooming in on Zendaya's face, and she is grinning. Like, she is grinning with that face. That alone became a meme. When I was watching that scene, I was just like, I'm just watching the scene, and I'm pretty sure, and I'm just like, oh boy, I'm pretty sure Tom Holland and Timothy Chalamet are pretty jealous of this scene. I mean, honestly, that became a meme. Yeah, the whole scene where the camera is zooming in on Zendaya's face with that grin on her face, that's basically a meme of its own. And this is like it focuses on like you get this shot of that, and then it cuts to Art and Patrick kissing each other. I'm just like, what? What am I watching? Is this supposed to be a tennis movie or something? It also makes me wonder too because this feels like this feels like Euphoria, right? Like, you know, the TV show Euphoria that Zendaya did as an executive producer, to which she also stars in that show too. Like, Euphoria is an American teen drama television series. There was a lot going on with that in that show where the series follows Rue Bennett, who's being played by Zendaya, who is a troubled teenage drug addict who struggles to get sober and find her place in the world, and of course adjust to her relationships after rehab. And there were a lot of themes going on in that show where it focuses so much on like the sexual content and of course the high school settings as the high school setting and teenage characters that deals with all the like the all the mature subject matters like sex, drugs, and all the other subject matters. That's what it feels like in the Challengers movie, except the only difference is the sex part. Like there's so many sex, there's like so much going on where it involves where it involves a romantic situation. Like we even get another scene where Patrick and Tashi also have sex, and I'm just like, oh my goodness. And I thought I was watching a tennis movie too, believe it or not. But at the same time, you're also thinking, how am I supposed to take these characters seriously? Because Tashi makes out with Patrick, and then Art makes out with Tashi because she made out with both Patrick and Art, and I'm just like, what? What the hell's going on? Who am I supposed to root for these characters? And you're like wondering, am I supposed to be rooting for these characters because of this love triangle? I mean, I remember the love triangle from Titanic. You know, where Jack Dawson meets Rose, but not knowing that Rose is dating this guy on the boat. But unfortunately, Rose dumps the guy for Jack because the other guy is being so abusive to Rose. And that I can follow along, but with Challengers, I'm just like, what? What is this? What is going on? And listen, like the actors did a very good job with what they were given. Like Zendaya, Mike Faist, and Josh O'Connor, they did a fantastic job playing these characters. For what they were given, they did a very good job of what they were given, and I give them credit for that. But at the same time, it leaves you wondering, like, why is it like what? What is the point of this relation? What is the point of this relate of the relationship between the three? Like, yeah, they're basically making out with each other, but it's also like the two guys are wondering if Tashi loves either Art or Patrick. What's the point? But it seems as though but of course Tashi ends up getting married to Art, and both Art and Tashi have a child in this movie as well. We see that at the beginning of the movie. Like the movie even opens up with Tashi and Art with a child. Like they have a child. The two have a child, and they're in this luxury hotel room. By the way, I find it amazing too. Like Tashi went through, both her and Art have a child, which is amazing to say, given to what the two have got to what knowing to what Art and Tashi went through. Like I feel so bad for Tashi during the knee injury scene. Like when we get to the knee injury scene, and that was after the scene where Tashi and Patrick fight after sex, and Patrick leaves Tashi's dorm room after the whole Tashi wants to Patrick wants Tashi to be her Tashi wants to be Patrick's peer instead of coach. Like that's what Patrick views Tashi. Like Patrick sees Tashi as a peer rather than a coach. Like like what? I mean, she could be a coach. I mean, come on, she could be a coach if she could be a coach, but peer, like what? Like a sex peer? Is that what Patrick Zwig is trying to say? I mean, come on. I mean, Tasha became a coach for Art Donaldson, and I mean that turned out pretty well. I mean, look where Tashi and Art end up in the career span. I mean, that turned out pretty well. But even in the injury, it's like you see the injury for Zendaya's character Tashi Duncan. Like she breaks her knee, and that was so brutal. And I just feel so bad for her in the situation. I think this is the only time I feel bad for Tashi Duncan, because the rest of the movie she's basically unlikable in this movie throughout the rest of the movie. Even though yeah, she's a pretty good coach to Art Donaldson, but like off the court, it's just whoa, what is this? Like even Art is sort of unlikable too, but at the very least, he does show some character too, some character growth as well. But going back to Tashi's injury, like yes, Tashi has the injury, and I just feel so bad and even to the point where Patrick comes in, tries to help Tashi, but Tashi and Art tells Patrick Zwig to leave, get out, get the hell out, because like I said before that, uh, Patrick and Tashi have had this argument of Patrick wanting Tashi to be her peer instead of coach. And then Patrick leaves, and then of course it's just Art and Tashi try to play tennis, try to practice, but unfortunately Tashi tried to get back on the court, was very unsuccessful, and we get a scene where she sits under a tree with the sunlight shining upon her, and she's upset. She is crying. She's in a knee brace, by the way. She's wearing a knee brace, and she is upset that her career is over. Like after everything, like her career is over. She is upset. She's at the point right now that she has an injury and her career is done. She's been doing this all her life, and to the point with a knee injury, she is done. And I just feel so sorry for her. I feel so sorry for her at this moment. And it leads up to Art Donaldson just to step in and play tennis. And of course, this is where Tashi Duncan becomes the coach to Art Donaldson. And for the most part, it was very impressive. But unfortunately, it does escalate into like more of the romantic situation where Patrick tries to get back at Tashi Duncan, but unfortunately it fails so successfully. But also he gives Tashi Duncan his phone number, and towards the end of the movie, the two meet up. Like Tashi Duncan wants to decline Patrick Zwig's offers, until the point where until the point where Tashi secretly meets with Patrick to ask him to throw the match to Art, to which Patrick agrees. And I was just like at this moment, I'm just like, what? I'm just like at this moment, like at the moment where Patrick and Tashi were driving away, they were gonna go. She was gonna go back to the hotel, and of course, Tashi tells Patrick to pull over, and they do. Like they do, and Tashi begins to kiss Patrick and have sex in the car. I'm just like, what? Like, what is going on? Tashi, you have a kid in a hotel room with your husband, and you're making out with this guy that you broke up with, and now you want to like get back with this guy? May I also add this in? Patrick Zwig hooking up with this girl that he found on Tinder at a hotel room in an earlier scene, and to which Tashi eavesdropped, and of course knowing the fact that Patrick was cheating on Tashi. There you go. There you go. And at this very point, I just don't I just don't really care for the rest of the movie. Like the rest of the movie, like the rest of the movie after Patrick and Tashi having sex in the car, you're just like, what? Am I even supposed to care? Am I supposed to care for the rest of the movie? Like we even get another scene after that where Tashi walks back to the hotel room. Tashi sees Art Art and her daughter sleeping together in the bedroom, and that was basically it. And then of course we get the final tennis match, and the ending of this tennis match. I'm gonna say this: I did not like this ending at all. I didn't think the ending was great. Now the moments in the ending are pretty good, where Art and Patrick both give a nod to each, give a nod to each other, as if it was like a bygones be bygones type of situation. And of course, during the whole tiebreak, the rally intensifies until both jump for a volley at the net. As Art begins to slam the ball, he collides with Patrick over the net, and the two tightly embrace. Tashi cheers from the stands, "Come on!" Because that was like her thing in her tennis matches. You hear her say, "Come on!" You hear that in the trailer too, by the way. And that's basically it. But this ending also begs the question: who won the tennis match? Was it Art? Was it Patrick? I think some people are saying it was Art who won the match, but I think it's hard to say. If anything, if they were gonna make this ending better, let's just say they were gonna make this ending better, I think they should have showed the winner of this match, like who won the match. And on top of this, if this is a big if, would have there been an alternate ending where we get to see another scene where Art is coaching a new generation of challengers? I think this would have been a pretty cool idea. Like it would be Art and Tashi being coaches to a new generation of tennis players, challengers. Even Patrick Zwick could probably tag along as well, being coaches to the challengers. Now that's just me. But also on top of that, it would have shown that Patrick, Tashi, and Art could reconcile with each other, realize their screw ups, try to get their lives back together, and of course, team up and train a new generation of tennis players. Because when you really think about it, Tashi is a tennis prodigy prior to the knee injury. We even get to see her scar on her knee at the beginning of the movie, indicating that she had a knee surgery. We see a scar on Tashi Duncan's knee in the beginning of the movie, indicating that oh wait, Tashi Duncan had a knee injury, so that's why she got surgery, and explains why she got the scar. That would pretty much explain it all. That would pretty much give you an idea of like, oh wait, yeah, we're gonna get that scene. Oh yeah, we're gonna get that scene. But also the fact that Tashi was coaching Art leading up to this final matchup. But of course, this matchup ends with both Patrick and Art colliding with each other. And it seems as though they're basically they're showing that, hey, let's be bygones. And I'm pretty sure they're just reconciling with each other. And but knowing the fact that this movie ends with Tashi Duncan saying "come on," and it cuts to black, knowing the fact that this is it. This is the end of the movie. But I would have loved to see a scene where, let's just say, like years later, we see like the three. Let's just say the three tennis players decided to like let's reconcile, like let's reconcile with each other, start fresh, trying to like rebuild their personalities, and then of course come up with the idea like, hey, even though we're all done playing tennis, how about we coach? How about we coach a new generation of players, a new generation of challengers, more tennis players? I think that would have been a pretty good send off for this movie, because think about it. You have a title that says challengers, right? And the challengers in this movie are basically Art and Patrick. They're basically challengers. And then of course Tashi Duncan is also a challenger too. But if you really think about it, like all three players have the skill and experience of playing tennis. So I think it would be awesome if the three would coach a new generation of tennis players, challengers, I should say. And I think that would have been a very good ending. And it shows that, yeah, we all have our flaws in our lives, but we decided to like, hey, but we want to like decide to rebuild our relationships, reconcile with each other, and it may take may take a long time to rebuild that, but once we do that, let bygones be bygones. We can rebuild and coach a new generation of players. Because we really think about it, when you really think about it, like Tashi Duncan's got some inspiration. There's many tennis players should get some inspiration too, because there's open availability for inspirations for many great players. Like if you really come to think about it, but no, all three tennis players in this movie are complete jerks, and we only see Art and Donald giving a nice little glance and a nod, showing that, hey, let's let bygones be bygones, and that's it, and that's basically it. I wish we could get another scene of years later where they're all back together and they just like settled their differences, rebuilt their personalities and relationships, and train a new and coach a new generation of tennis players, and keep the tennis spirit going. But no, that's not what we got in this movie. But other than that, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it on some of the bad stuff. Like yeah, the unlikable, like the characters themselves are pretty unlikable. Are pretty unlikable. I mean, Tashi is pretty much unlikable in this movie too. But Patrick Zwig is so unlikable in this movie as well. Like he is so unlikable throughout the rest of the movie, especially the way how he treated Tashi Duncan too. He only views Tashi as a peer, sexual peer, instead of like, coach. Like, why do that? Come on, man. Why did you do that to her like that? Like that's just wrong. And of course, adding insult to injury, Patrick Zwig hooking up with another girl. Yeah, that's bad. But even Art Donaldson was also unlikable too. But at the very least, he did show some growth and emotion too. But Tashi Duncan she was basically the snake in this movie. But other than that, that's pretty much it. That's probably my dislike for this movie. The ending and the characters being written as very unlikable. I have seen movies and TV shows where I see unlikable characters, but there are unlikable characters that are actually memorable and good. Like Biff from Back to the Future. He's an unlikable bully to Marty McFly. Even Johnny Lawrence from the Karate Kid, who is an unlikable bully. But the difference was the characters were written to be unlikable, but also written to be memorable as well. Like there are times where people like the unlikable characters because some of these characters have some of the most memorable moments and memorable lines too, mind ya. But for this challengers, it's like, yeah, there's unlikable characters, but these characters are so unlikable, you just hate them. But that's my gripe with this movie. But another thing I didn't like about this movie is like the one moment I didn't like in this movie was the sauna scene. Now, I will say this: the sauna scene alone the way how it's set up is good. It's the sauna scene where Art and Patrick sitting down having a conversation, but the moment of it gets ruined by the music from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Like the music you hear in the background, like towards the end of that scene, it builds up to something to builds up to something. Like, is it gonna transition to another scene? Is it gonna segue into Art and Patrick fighting each other? Or is it gonna segue into another tennis match? Like, what's up with that? But no, the music is just there. It's just there. It's just there to build something up, and it doesn't go anywhere between Patrick Zwig and Art Donaldson. And that's basically it. You could have cut this entire song out and nothing would happen. You don't even need the music in that scene. You could just have the sauna scene with these two guys and the scene wouldn't make a difference. But no, the music ruined the effect of that scene. I'm sorry, but that music that music was out of place. But the rest of the movie with the music, but the rest of the movie itself with the music during the tennis matches are pretty good too. And I thought the music was pretty solid for the rest of the movie, except for that one scene in the sauna scene. That's basically it. Now the last thing I want to cover. Now I've already mentioned the actors did a pretty good job with what they were given. Like that's my only good thing about this. Despite what they were given, the actors did a very good job with what they were given. I mean, the music from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross throughout the rest of the movie, aside from that one scene, was good. But if I were to give a mention, I would have to mention the tennis matches. The tennis matches are actually good. I really love those matches. Like the way how it's filmed, the way how it's edited, and the way how it's shot. It was actually good. I really enjoyed the tennis matches. It even feels like you're in the match itself. Like not just from aerial shots, but also from a first person perspective. Like we get a moment where you're the tennis ball, you're the tennis racket. Like that's basically it. And while the rest of the scenes were just basically aerial shots, mid shots, even some moments where where the camera is being handheld. That's what it feels. That's basically how it's being structured, and I really enjoyed those tennis matches. They were very good tennis matches. Other than that, I know it kind of sounds like the movie's okay at best. I would definitely say at best it's okay, but I didn't think but it wasn't that great either. I know a lot of people are gonna say. I know a lot of people said they enjoyed this movie, and that's okay. If you really like this movie, that's totally fine. That's totally fine. I respect that. But to me, it wasn't that great. It wasn't that great. I think at best is okay, but it wasn't that great of a movie at all. Like I think we could have gotten. I think the writing could have been a little better than what we got in this movie. I love the way how it was structured. I love the way how it was structured between one scene between the past and the present. I love the actors. The characters in this movie are just so unlikable. The characters in this movie are so unlikable in this movie. And of course the tennis matches are good. The music is okay, except for that one. Except for the sauna scene where the music came out was out of place for that. But other than that, that's just my take on this movie. I mean, if you like this, if you have seen, if you, I mean, like I said, if you like this movie, that is great. That is perfectly fine, and I respect that. But anyway, that would be a wrap on this episode. But anyway, what did you all think of the movie Challengers? Did you like the movie? Did you not like the movie? I would love to hear your thoughts. But anyway, that's a wrap on this episode. Thank you all for tuning into Codo Cinema. I'm your host, Mark Codo, aka Codoman. Remember to watch movies and stay positive.